We're holding by Parashas Miketz already. Moving along in the Parashas of Yosef HaTzadik. And I'd like to bring your attention to the Medrash in the beginning of the Parsha. And we're going to, I didn't give you Chumashim, so you just listen for 1 second. So Rashi brings this in the end of last week's Parsha. Oh, it's alright. The pasuk says in the end of last week's parsha that Yosef was in the bar, he was in the jail, and he interpreted the dreams of the Star Mashkim and the Star Ha'othim, and he asked them that when they go back to the king, he said to the Star Mashkim that when you get reinstalled into your position, he said to him that you should remember me. The lashon of the pasuk is that he asked him in pasuk Yudalad, it says, "Ki im zachartani itcha, kasher yitav lach." When it's good for you, remember me, that I was the one who helped you out in the jail. V'asisa na'imadi chased, and do kindness with me in return. V'izkartani al Paroi, and mention me to Paro. So if you mention that there was somebody who was really a good person, he was in the jail, and he doesn't deserve to be there because he's not a criminal, and let him out. But they'll let me out from this place. So this is, and he goes on to explain that he's innocent and he hasn't done anything to get here. So what happens in the end is that the pasuk says in the end of the parsha, "V'lo yizachar Sar Mashkim es Yosef." The Sar Mashkim did not remember and did not mention Yosef when he got reinstalled into his position. Vayishkacheyu, and he forgot him, and that's the end of Parashas Vayeshev. He didn't mention him, and he forgot him. Rashi says Vayishkacheyu that because Yosef hinged upon this, he asked for help. He relied on the help of. Does anyone need another copy? On the help of this Egyptian, so he needed to stay in jail another 2 years. Okay, now we're going to learn about this, and we'll start with the Medrash, and we'll see what did Yosef do wrong. Rashi brings this Medrash.
From where?
I'm going to start from this page that you see the Medrash on the side, copied right next to 2 columns of Beis HaLevi. Okay, if you don't see that, then you're on the wrong side. Looks like this. Okay. If we have time, then we will learn another Beis HaLevi with the Medrash, the first Medrash in the Parsha that's related and connects to this. Okay, let's see the Medrash, the right-hand column. Ashrei HaGever asher sam Hashem miftachai. Praiseworthy is the man, happy, fortunate is the man that puts in Hashem his trust. Zeh Yosef. This is Yosef. Yosef, great in his trust in Hashem. We find by Yosef that he was always mentioning the name of God. It was Shem Hashem Shogar B'Piv, Chazal say, in all of his hatzlacha that he had from the time that he came down to Egypt. Hashem was with him, Hashem was guarding him, and he remembered HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was always putting his trust in him. Later on, when the brothers were very worried about how Yosef was going to respond to them, Yosef said, "Don't worry, this is not from you. You didn't do this to me. It was from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem sent me down to provide sustenance and security for you and for the world during this time of famine." So we see that Yosef saw things in a bigger picture. He saw things with bitachon. So we now approach Yosef, and the pasuk says, "Ashrei HaGever asher sam Hashem miftachai zeh Yosef." And he didn't turn for assistance, to depend el rehavim, to the arrogance. That's how the article translates rehavim. So we'll see now it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Tehillim Mem pasuk Hey. And now the Medrash says this is also Yosef. Al Yedei she'amar l'Sar Mashkim, because Yosef said to the Sar Mashkim, to the officer of the Mashkim of Paro, the one who gave him the drinks. Zachartani vizkartani, remember me and mention me. Nitaisiv l'shtei shanim, he had to stay 2 extra years in the bar. Okay, so now that's the Rashi that's what Rashi is mentioning, that because he asked and he depended on the Sarah Mashkim, so we see that he had to stay another 2 years. Okay, we'll go a little further in the Medrash. Ashri Agever Shesam Hashem Miftachai. Rabbi Yudan Amar. Rabbi Yudan explains this pasuk al pi drush. He says that Rahavim is an otrikain, and it's like rive revavais. 1,000 is elef, and 10,000 is revavais. Revavais are 10,000. So we see that the Medrash is going to say that really the tens of thousands, rive revavais, tens of thousands, millions of people approach the world like this, that they take trust in their bateach in something that really that's not what helps. The multitudes, rive rabavaya, tens of thousands, shem shatim achrei kazav, that they are following after, flowing after the falsehood. Woe is the one who takes a security in these worldly efforts that aren't really what we could trust in. Now, if we pause there for a minute, we have a commentary over here, the Perush of the Marzav. It's on the side of the Medrash, in the classic Medrash, and he gives a short excerpt, and the Beis HaLevi, this will help us understand the Beis HaLevi's approach. There is a problem here. The problem is that at the same time, the Medrash is saying how great Yosef was. He was a big Baal B'tachon. He trusted in Hashem. Ashrei HaGever Shesam Hashem Miftachai Zeh Yosef. So Yosef is being praised for his great B'tachon. And at the same time, the Medrash takes the second half of the pasuk, V'lei panei al Rahavim, and it seeks and it finds blame and guilt in Yosef and how he turned to the arrogant and asked for their assistance, and because of that, he was punished.
I mean, could you say his person he was at such a level that through his life he was always like that, so that's why this was such a fall for him.
Okay, very good. If you look in the Marzav, we're going to see exactly, because of Yosef on his level, that's why this was taken as a fault. Somebody not on such a high level wouldn't have been taken to task for what Yosef had done. It wasn't something that was way beyond unreasonable for a person of a lower level. Go ahead.
No, just my hands.
So I have a question. At this point, Yosef has been tossed in a pit, right? He always gets tossed in a pit by people that are supposed to love him and look after him. He gets sold into another country, right? Gets sent out, gets tossed. He lives in a home where a woman tries to do disgusting things with him. He fights it he fights it for a year. Right, he fights and fights and fights. In the end, he almost gives in, but he doesn't give in. Right, he fights it. The person who this is from the Medrash, right? I'm reading the Medrash. Right, he takes him. The guy whose wife accuses him to the husband. If the husband says, I know that she's lying. Right, I'm going to take you and put you in a special jail. I'm going to look after you. He still spends 10 years in jail. 10 years. 10 years he's been sitting there. He was starting at 17. Now he's 27 years old. Right? He's been 10 years sitting in this jail. He's been running the jail. They let him run the jail. Pasukim say he's running the jail. He's the man.
Fair question.
Right? And then...
Is this
well, that's what.
I hired him to give the share.
That's what's. And now he's saying to this guy, "Oh, by the way, when you talk to the king, it's his birthday in a couple of days. Remember me."
Okay. Sure.
So what's the question? I know that implied question, but what?
But that's the point, because he was so thank Hashem for everything up until that point, and that the expectation is it would continue.
The Medrash.
How do you judge?
He get twice because he said twice. He wanted twice. He didn't ask once. He asked twice. He gets punished for 2 years. Each one a year for each time.
So you're asking give him a break already. So how could you be so difficult on Yosef?
Well, how can you, and I have this question on marriage, how can you say he's at that level? We've shown he's at that level. Give the guy, let's give the guy a break.
Because for those 11, 12 years he was at that level, so he showed he was at that level.
Why don't you reward him instead of punish him?
Okay, we hope that through this year will become more clear the perspective here on Yosef. If we look at the commentary right here underneath the Medrash, Ashri HaGever, HaKavana, I'll skip a few words because I don't know what that stands for. Miketz, Zeh Yosef. Sheme'olam hayabeteach b'Hashem. This is Yosef. Yosef always had trust in Hashem. Rakan, here, Pam Achas, only one time, Shenichshal b'Lishaynai, that he stumbled in his language. B'Rahavim, in the way he spoke. And he spoke to Rahavim, to people who were arrogant. V'Shatei Chazav, and people who followed after falsehood. Rahavim he Mitzrayim, they're the Mitzrayim, K'Mashenemer, Mitzrayim, V'Goymer L'chein K'Rasi L'Zayis Rahav. So, he says that the Rahavim is a remez to Mitzrayim, and they're called Rahavim, and that's why the Medrash is pinning this on Yosef. And in the beginning of what he says that it's both true. Yosef always was Baiteach B'Hashem, but one time he was Nichshab L'Shaynai, and that's where the Medrash is finding this fault in Yosef. Obviously, Yosef was a very big tzaddik, and there were HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his plan, and these 2 years fit into the plan. And there are other midrashim that explain other reasons for these 2 years. But there was 2 more years of suffering that Yosef was locked up there, that was somehow attached to his fault in bitachon, in complete trust in Hashem at this time. Now let's take the Beis Halevi.
Is there another question that you're not necessarily supposed to rely on miracles, and if there's an opportunity for you to be saved, do you take that?
Let's ask the question that way. Wasn't this the right thing for Yosef to do? He sees an opportunity for himself in front of him to be able to seize the moment and to take advantage of the situation that he's in.
Maybe
and
Hashem
do
sent that opportunity.
Hishtadlus, to do some effort. Maybe he was sent by Hashem.
You know, the
in order to help him get out.
The boat and the helicopter in the flood. Why didn't you take advantage of those things that I sent?
And we could even add in, if we could add to that question a little bit more, is that this actually did lead to Yosef's, in the end, getting out of jail. Because in the end, the way he did get out was because of the Sar Mashkim, because Paro had a dream, and Paro didn't know the interpretation to the dream, and all the interpreters were all offering interpretations that he wasn't happy with. And then the Sar Mashkim says, "Oh, I remember this slave boy that wasn't even Egyptian," and he puts him down. But in the end, he does mention Yosef, and Yosef is called to Paro because of this. So one thing does lead to the other, and we do see the hand of Hashem in Yosef being in jail with these people, leading to the eventuality of him getting out.
Doesn't this all seem, well, at least to me, it seems like this was all pre-choreographed. This was the way it was supposed to happen.
We know that, but he didn't.
Right. Well, Yosef...
And he was such a dreamer, and he should have known.
I guess HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made it happen 2 years sooner, or made him not have to stay in the jail for these 2 years.
But then the 7 years was going to...
Yes, it could be he could have gotten out of jail 2 years earlier, and then he would have been called to Paro after those 2 years.
The way you asked the question reminds me of something my father used to tell me. My father used to always tell me, when somebody does something wrong, they always know that they did wrong. You don't have to remind them of it. So the way you asked the question was very interesting. It made me realize that the butler knew who had saved him. So Yosef didn't have to tell the butler to remind you that I saved you.
Okay, maybe this was a little bit extra. He didn't have to tell.
He did his bitachon by telling the bitachon. The Hishtadlus was doing interpreting the dream, but that's all he had to do. The butler knew. He knew.
Well, the butler ended up not mentioning Yosef to try to do Yosef a favor. He never ended up trying to do Yosef any chesed that Yosef had asked for.
So Yosef should know that this guy wasn't going to do that anyway. He knows the kind of freak he's dealing with.
Maybe he wouldn't do it anyway.
The hint comes in the words of the arrogance. Because what was the butler was arrogant.
Okay, it could be there's such an approach. There is more than one approach here. Perhaps he should have realized that this guy's not going to care about him and not going to try to help him. Maybe that was the problem. Let's take a look at the Beis Halevi. And the fascinating thing about this Beis Halevi is that not only does he give us pshat in this medrash, but he gives us a working definition over here of when to have bitachon and how much bitachon to have, how much hishtadlus to do, when should a person put in the efforts, and when is it beyond the call. And it's a very interesting rule of thumb that the Beis Halevi gives here. Perhaps it's controversial, I don't know, but he was great, and he gives us an amazing perspective over here into what's the rules of hishtadlus and where did Yosef fall short of here. We look at the Beis Halevi, the Medrash Rabbi Parshas Miketz. Ashri HaGever Shesam Hashem Miftacha Is Yosef and V'loi Panei El Rehavim Shal Yedei Shamar L'Shar Mashkim Ki Im Zachartani V'Zkartani Nitaysev L'Shtei Shanim. 2 years were added on. V'Rabim Chakru El HaMedrash. Many have discussed this Medrash. Masha Amar B'Tchila. First it says that Yosef Ubira Pashut. So first it says that Yosef is being praised, and then it says later that he's being found fault. The truth is that the Torah permits a person to put in hishtadlus efforts, this worldly derech hateva, hishtadlus to extend efforts on his behalf to further his own benefit, to take care of himself, to take care of his physical needs. For his parnasa, we find the pasuk, Hashem says, I'll give you a blessing, and everything that you do, you'll be successful. So you're doing something, you're working, you're plowing the land, and whatever you do, Hashem will send a blessing and will help it to be successful and bountiful. And another pasuk, we read in Shema and Vayim Shemaya, you'll gather in. It's not going to be done for you. You'll go ahead and you will gather with your own efforts. Tigancha, your grains, v'tirayshecha, and your wine, your grapes. Okay, so and on this, Rabbi Shmuel says in Maseches Brachos, remember Rabbi Shmuel in Maseches Brachos, Hanig ben minig derech eretz. Take an approach on Haga with this area, minig derech eretz. In other words, go about it in a natural way. You extend your efforts and you go. You plow, you sow the seeds, you harvest, and you're going about minig derech eretz.
What a normal person does in that situation.
What?
When Rabbi Shiner calls it what a normal person does.
What a normal person does. Okay. And we see that the Torah says, go ahead, do hishtadlus. Don't just say, I'm just going to rely on Hashem. The ikar inyan. And so this is part of the question. Yosef was doing hishtadlus. He saw an opportunity here, and he was extending effort in trying to help himself take advantage of the situation. The ikar inyan. Yesh leimer. Tzeru klal isha Yisraeli. This is the general rule that we can take. Shayia, for a person, a regular person like you and I, klal isha Yisraeli, shayia libai shayket uveteach b'Hashem. The inyan of bitachon is that Hashem wants us not to worry, and we are not supposed to be aggravating and agitating over the future. That we're worried what's going to come. Who knows? Maybe I won't have enough. We're supposed to feel secure and trust in Hashem. So now, where is the hishtadlus? If we're all secure, Hashem's going to take care of me. I'm not worried. Well, if I'm not worried, so what am I doing? That which the Torah permits and says, go ahead, do a hishtadlus, to go and put in your own efforts for your livelihood, not every person, not every standard person who has not risen to very high levels has reached the madriga of bitachon hagamor, of total feeling of trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'al kain, and therefore, huter lo ha'ishtadlus, the Torah permits the ishtadlus and says, go ahead and do this ishtadlus, kedei sheyeh lo siyua, because that will help him. It will be a siyua sheyagia l'madrigas habeteach, because through doing these efforts, he will reach the feeling of security and sense of not being worried and calmness in knowing that everything's going to be all right. In other words, a person has to go ahead and do the work and find what the efforts he could extend is, so that it will then be easy for him to feel this serenity and this security, and don't worry, everything will be all right. It could still be that not everything will be all right. It could still be that after extending all the efforts, maybe nothing will pan out, and no customers will come, or people won't be interested in this merchandise, and so on. But with bitachon, he says, don't worry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of me. He didn't forget about me. He loves me. He's going to watch over me. But after the person did this ishtadlus, extended this effort, he went about and he did what's the normal effort that he extended. So now, he is now on the madrega that he could say, look, not going to rely on Hashem. I did what I'm supposed to do. I did my part. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to help me. He'll take care of me. Will I be very wealthy? Will I just have bread on my table? That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. I don't know the answer to that. But all of this is because it's the bitachon is the sense that Hashem wants us to feel the security and the serenity and not to worry and not to agitate. So how do we get there? If we're on a very, very high level, a person might have to do only less. He could do a little bit, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send a blessing in that little bit that he did. But for a person who's not on that high level of bitachon, so he doesn't see there's such a correlation. It's going to be miraculous to him if he just does a little bit, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to help him out. So he still doesn't feel that sense of security. He's still worried. If he's still worried, he didn't do enough. Okay, let's go further, and the Beis Halevi will develop this idea more. Like we find in the entire Torah, like we find in other areas of the Torah, that the Torah says, don't start with the ultimate. You could start with something that will help you reach where you're supposed to get. And even though what you're doing isn't the ultimate pinnacle of what the Torah wants from you, but you could start on a lower level. A person should start doing mitzvot, start studying Torah, even shalol lishma, even if it's for the sake of other benefits. He knows that his mother is going to give him a candy, or he's going to get kavod. Somebody's going to say, "Wow, look at Ploni. He's learning. He's learning. We're so proud of him." Or whatever it is, shalol lishma. And because it's shalol lishma, and he's learning, and he wants to come to the really recognizing the value in itself of the pursuit of Torah and mitzvahs, and eventually he'll get there, and he'll get to where he's supposed to get. Through serving Hashem with ulterior motives, Baal Lishma, he'll come to the true motive to do it for the service of Hashem and for the real value in what he's performing in and of itself. The Shalol Lishma became permissible to get to the level of Lishma. Let me just explain that a little bit more.
Is there Havamina that it might be better not to learn?
Yes, but let me explain this. I don't think I have the best words to explain this. I will try. If we were on looking from Hashem's perspective, imagine a king, and he knows what the person is motivated by, and he asks his servants to be loyal to him and to do something, a service for him. and he knows that it's very apparent to him that so one of his servants is doing this. He does not machshav the king. He doesn't value the king enough. That wouldn't motivate him to do it. He's doing it because he has some other reason. He wants to get something that he's going to get. So he doesn't care about the king. He's not doing it for the king. That in and of itself could be looked at like it's maybe even worse. They're not doing it because now it's kind of like a falsification. He's doing something which is supposed to be a symbol of his kavod, his respect, of his honor, and now what's he doing? He's really selfish. He really cares about himself, not about the king, and he's using this as a means for his own end. And what kind of service is that?
But the king still gets his service.
The king gets his service.
The king still gets his service.
It's true. But the king we're talking about doesn't really need it. He doesn't need the service. He could get it a different way. He is taken care of.
The king knows.
And he knows. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look, I know that when you do this, in the end, you'll get there. You do this, it will get easier for you. You overcome your Yetzer Hara. You'll see the internal beauty in the Torah and the mitzvahs, and you'll realize you'll mature, and in the end, you'll do it for the right reason. Go ahead. Do this. So with Matir, the Torah permitted to do the Shalai Lishma so that we could get to the Bechina of Lishma, to that level.
Hashem set up that system. So
right. Because Baruch Hu himself set it up this way and allowed us. And he's saying that when a person, this is going to be a mashal for us in our case of hishtadlus and bitachon. V'im kain, in other words, a person when he starts off is not on such a high madrega bitachon. So when he starts off, he's going to have to do more efforts, extend more efforts in order to be able to feel that sense of security in Hashem. But as life goes on, and he sees that in every situation HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of me, there are times that he'll be able to find within himself that he will be able to have grown in his bitachon. And he'll feel that he knows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of me in this situation just like he's taken care of me in the past. And in the situation where he feels that security, and he already isn't worried, so then he won't have to extend extra efforts and say, you know what, there's one more thing I could do. If I just send out one more mailing, then maybe that will be the key. That's what will do the trick for me. If he's already on the level that he feels that I know Hashem's going to take care of me, I did something reasonable already, then he doesn't have to do that extra efforts, because he's already on that level of security, of feeling, of tranquility. He's not worried. He knows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of him.
But maybe he has to learn that extra Mishnah.
What do you mean?
Well, you say he has to do that extra. See, I really disagree strongly with what you just said. But maybe he needs to do that extra Mishnah. He has to sit and learn the extra Mishnah. To get that extra client, he needs to sit and make sure he learns that extra Mishnah. I'm tired, I want to go home.
Yeah, we're not talking about learning Mishnayos. We're talking about doing...
That's a hishtadlus for the good business.
It could be. I wasn't talking about that at all. I'm talking about doing something that's a direct, this worldly cause and effect, something that a person is worried, so he says, look, I have to do one more thing. I only do one more thing because I instead of going to bed now, or instead of learning that Mishnah, which I have time to learn, he says, no, I don't have time. I need to do one more thing, because even though I have enough money in my bank account, but maybe there'll be a hurricane and my basement will be flooded, and then I'll need an extra $10,000 or $20,000 in my account, and therefore I don't have time for a chavusa. Even though I have a fine parnasa, I don't have time, because maybe, who knows what's going to happen, and I need to extend this effort because maybe I'll need more money in my bank account. Who knows? So the point is that if a person is holding already by the madrega of feeling, I don't have to worry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of everyone. He takes care of babies. He takes care of birds and squirrels and everything. He'll take care of me. And I put in my hishtadlus. I have a normal amount. So I do have time to learn this hour. And so for each person on their level. Now, the Beis Halevi goes on to explain how this fits into us. Vim Kain, we're in this first column now, about 10 lines from the bottom. Vim Kain, Shir HaYishtadlus HaNirtza, the correct amount of Ishtadlus, Einoi Shaveh B'chol Adam, is not the same for every person.
Right.
It depends on the person. Rakol Echel Lefi Erkai. Each person according to his Erech, according to his level.
And I guess it changes for the person as well.
It could change in his own lifetime. It could even come to a point where a person maybe takes a step backward. The Beis Halevi doesn't speak about this, but when the Vilna Gaon elsewhere speaks about this, that sometimes a person will reach a level where he's matured and he's become, let's call it, more able. And because of that, right now he starts thinking that it's really his success depends upon his effort. And when he was younger and he was in school and he was a child, he didn't think he had to do anything. He didn't, Hashem's going to take care of me. He didn't think because there's nothing for him to do. He wasn't like he felt like it's up to me. It could be a person might take a step backward sometimes and have to do more because now he looks at himself as in a point like now I'm the one who has to do it. Now it's my responsibility. But it fluctuates on a person's sense of being able to feel that tranquility and dependency and HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking care of him. A person who is able to reach Livtayach b'ma'at melacha, and with a small amount of effort, azay masha yirbeh, so he can reach the bitachon, azay masha yirbeh l'shtadel yoiser, what he extends extra efforts, mikefi anitzrach loy lazeh hashir, for that which is necessary for him to reach this level of bitachon. So that's already too much. That's already considered a sin for him against on the level of the bitachon that he is at. Because he increased to follow after, and he didn't live up to his bitachon that he should have trusted.
Okay. Now, but can anyone judge that for themselves, or do they always think they're putting in the exact right amount of effort? Because an individual, you always, one would think, what I'm doing is right, anything more would be too much. But does someone from the outside have to...
Well, sometimes a person could tell themselves that I'm not worried. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of me. I extended a normal amount of effort already, and so should I go do more just in case? Who knows?
Well, what I'm saying is, is 11 hours of work versus 7 hours of work too much? The 11-hour person would say, no, that's exactly the right amount. But then what are you doing with the time that you have available and what's left for you? So if you're not learning and you're not with your family or whatever, then maybe that's it's
better than sitting idle or watching movies. It's better to work. Yeah, it's better to work. Keep yourself busy. But for a person who could pursue investments that will secure his future for forever and ever, that he could start learning Torah, or he could learn more Torah, he could do more mitzvahs, more chesed, or so on. He could build relationships with his family that he doesn't have time for because he's busy working, or whatever it is, that he could do something that's of true value, that's not just an investment, that he could have more dollars in his bank account. So that a person should realize, look, I have time. I don't have to stress out. I should feel that secure. Hashem wants me to feel that security in Him, and that's ultimately the goal. And even the hishtadlus is to get to that sense of security that Hashem wants me not to worry. I shouldn't have to worry. I should feel that I know Kadosh Baruch Hu cares for me and He's going to take care of me. Right? Somebody whose bitachon is less than his counterpart of his friend. So he could go ahead and work more. Till he could also feel that sense of feeling of security. That he could quiet down his worries. To trust in Hashem. That's the main barometer over here of the hashkatas ruchai v'libay l'hashlcha Hashem Yahavai, to throw onto Hashem his lot, and Hashem will care for him. So, ומי שמרבה בשתדלוס יוצא מקביע נצח עונשי שמן השמיים יוסיפו על הצטרכוסי. Then now he says something very interesting. Somebody who doesn't do this, somebody who says, I'm not going to trust in Hashem, I'm going to do more ishtadlus and as much as I can, more than necessary. So what is his ones? What is his punishment? What's he going to suffer from this? That from Shemayim, from heaven, they will cause that he will need. He will actually need this extra effort. That he will actually not be able to be sufficient without this extra hishtadlus. And it won't be prepared for him his parnasa only through great efforts. Toil of the flesh, that is the path that he chose for himself, because he's chosen this path for himself, that it should only come through more and more and more efforts. So now when we go to Yosef, we go to Yosef, now this becomes very tricky for a person, because he won't necessarily see that he did too much ishtadlus, because he's going to see that, look, everything that I did was necessary. If I wouldn't have done this and this, then look, I wouldn't have had it. So he's going to have to step back, and he's going to have to be thinking not necessarily based on the results, but he's going to have to think about, look, I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of me, so when I see that I did a reasonable amount, I don't have to do more. I've seen in my own life, and I'm sure many of you have, where a person suffers let's say a loss of money where he totally didn't expect it. Something unexpected happened, and certain profits that he made are gone because of something got lost, or something was whatever it was, and a person had to fly to here for this purpose, or to go there, or to spend money on this, or this damage was done, and who knows why. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his cheshbonos. We don't know what Hashem's cheshbonos are, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a way of, so to speak, evening out the score. That you're not going to have more than what you were supposed to have, and even if a person, let's just say, got more, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a way of,
The problem, of course, is the person who works more than they need to, and then has extra needs, will then say, see, I did have to work all of that, because look at these needs I have.
Right.
Right? So it's the same as some of the Shemitah calculations and things like that, where, you put more effort in, and then you have more need, and it's only sort of supporting your thoughts, which is problematic. Right, because you don't know that if you would have worked less, you would have had less. You
won't know it, right? So the ultimate point here is that when a person is working on his bitachon continuously along with his ishtadlus, so then he could grow in that bitachon. He could keep his eye out for seeing how HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of him, and then he could merit from Shemayim that he could actually have success with less effort.
So you lessen your physical endeavors, and then you see that Hashem.
Right. Now, we'll never know. Like a person could say, look, I'm doing everything, I've always trusted in Hashem, and still have to work so hard.
Maybe that was always for you.
Know why. Yeah. Yosef throughout these years where he was a big Baal Bitachon, he wasn't just sitting and learning and nothing to worry about. He had to be taking care of his master's household, and then he had to be in the jail, and he couldn't just say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what happened? I'm a big Baal Bitachon, so I'm not supposed to be having to put in so much effort. So we don't know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes us extend these efforts, and what kapara or tikkun or whatever it's doing for us. But if a person is in a situation where he has to do it and he doesn't have a choice, then for sure that's what he should do. And Yaakov Avinu, he worked for many years, and he worked day and night, as he describes to Lavan, with great integrity. And there were years before that he was able to learn and not worry at anything. And these were years where HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the point in order for him to amass the wealth. That's why Hashem wanted him to work all these years. I doubt it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted him. There was some other tikkun that was involved here in the toiling and the integrity that was coming out from Yaakov Avinu. But at any rate, this explains to us Yosef simultaneously, at the same time that he was a great level of bitachon, he was also being taken to task for these extra few words that he said that he saw. Let me explain it because I don't know if we have time to read this inside, so I'll just explain it outside. And that is that the point is like this: Yosef was right in tapping into something that was really true over here. The Sarah Mashkim was there in the pit for him, and he was there together with him, because Baruch Hu arranged that he would be in the pit, and the Sarah Mashkim would be in the pit, and he would have a dream, and he would have the ability to interpret it, all to help Yosef get out of the bar. So he was tapping into something that was a real, something real. That's the way that he was going to get helped out. But Yosef, on his level, should have said that the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of me and setting up every single point over here in the orchestrating the whole entire scene. So even though I didn't get myself in the bar, and I didn't get myself to the house of Potiphar, and I didn't get myself to where I am, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is orchestrating this whole thing, and I'm trusting in him and doing what I need to do in each situation. So instead, so he wouldn't have had to feel that he needs to ask for the help of somebody who is an arrogant Mitzri Egyptian who doesn't care about him. He wouldn't have felt like he needs to do that in order to help him out. For us, for somebody on a lower level, we wouldn't have taken to task. It was only because Yosef was such a big Baal Bitachon that he really did feel and could have felt the security without this extra effort, and that's why he was being taken to task. But that's why the Medrash says both in the same sentence. Ashrei Adam Hagerash Hasam Hashem Iftachai. He placed his trust in Hashem. Yosef always did that. And at the same time, Leipana Rahavim, that was Yosef that fell short in this one instance a little bit in his bitachon, and because of that had to stay extra 2 years. Yes.
And if he wouldn't have asked the...
If he wouldn't have asked, so then he could have come out 2 years earlier.
But the whole series of everything was set up ahead of time.
Right. So I think that's like a what-if question. Because what if this would have happened, how would Hashem arranged it then?
So that we would have
That's
9 years
question.
of plenty and 7...
Maybe. Or maybe he would have been out of jail for 2 years, and then Paro would have had a dream, and then he would have come out. But it could have happened a little differently. And Hashem...
All the other players in this whole segment, until Joseph stands in front of his brothers and goes, you got two of his brothers who alone wiped out a whole town and people, in revenge of Dinah.
Right.
Were powerless against him, and they were all scratching their head like, what's going on?
There definitely was a Yad Hashem going on over here. There's no question. And Yosef was sent down to Mitzrayim, and there was a bigger picture here. But the details of how it happened, so there were certain things that weren't correct in what were done. And one of them was this, what Yosef had a small lack of bitachon in extending this extra effort to somebody who was pechisos, a denigration for him to have to come on to such a person's help and to seek the help of that person, of a rahavim, of somebody arrogant, untruthful Egyptian, and that's
wasn't that all part of the same script?
In the end, it was.
That's what he.
In the end, it was. What I'm saying, the story could have been written a little bit different. So, what if question? What if this would have been like this? How would it have happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows how it would have happened.